So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, good friend of mine. We talk about the game pretty often. And he didn't agree with the fact that I like to give game to women as well, right? And I explained it to him this way. I said, is the game about manipulating someone to get what you want from them? Or is the game about opening someone's eyes to understand what it is that they really want and then letting them know how to get it, right? And this is what I mean. When it comes to my blurred pill ideology, when it comes to my idea of the biology first approach, of course, I'm not the first one to think of it. But when it comes to the biology first approach, the idea here isn't to just try to get sex from a woman as fast as you can because you're just horny and thirsty and you can't control yourself. No, it's just about making sure that you have sexual chemistry before you try to invest emotionally so that you can keep the relationship intrinsic instead of it becoming a transactional situation. Because what society does when it comes to the blue pill is that it tells men to listen to women's social programming so that a man will invest in a woman financially or financially and emotionally so that he will be too invested to leave after he has sex with the woman, right? And it's also a matter of just telling the man that he needs to put himself in a submissive role, in a submissive position when it comes to the woman's social programming. So the blue pill works like that on that side. And then what a woman's mindset when it comes to the blue pill is seeing that the same way. But what that often looks like is a woman, uh, taking advantage of that process of a man investing in her emotionally, financially, and energetically so that she will feel comfortable enough to have sex with him. In a lot of ways that works like sex work, just long-term sex work, right? Instead of like Kay Zagan said, instead of paying a woman to leave, which is what a trick does, you pay a woman to stay. And that's often how the blue pill ideology works, and that's really what boosts and what runs the economy. But how the red pill works, and I've studied the red pill for a while now. It's like how the red pill works is you basically elevate the view of your value with the symbol, not the substance of that value, but the symbol of that value, which would be your looks, money, and status. You elevate those things so that you appear like eye candy to somebody instead of soul food, and then you draw that person in with the perception of not giving them what it is that they want, and then you just maximize your return on investment. So that's kind of how the red pill works. So the blue pill is you invest to get more out of it. The red pill is you try to maximize your return on investment. So with the red pill, what women try to do in those instances, and that's more so a man's biological directives. What a woman will do is she will have sex with a man because she wants a relationship. So she's just going to be submissive to that sexual desire up front. And when she does that, often it'll turn into her being needy. It'll turn into her getting clingy. It'll turn into her showing certain traits that don't necessarily make a man want to be with her in a relationship. And it'll also make a man not trust the purity of that sexual desire. So when I'm talking about this intrinsic desire and I'm talking about the blurred pill, what I'm really saying is this. When a man adheres to the blue pill, he's taking a submissive role to her social programming. So by doing that, he may never get to the point where he's able to step fully into his dominant masculine sexual energy and create that desire in her to be submissive with him because he's already being submissive to her social programming, right? So when I talk about the biology first approach, it's because I believe that as a man, a dominant masculine man is going to put what he wants first. And it's not from the perspective of trying to take advantage of the woman. That's not the point. The point is you're helping that woman step out of her social programming so that she can integrate the idea of her sexual desire into her personality, into her desires when it comes to dating. When it comes to when a woman's dating and she's looking for a man, you know, for most women, if she's integrated, sex is going to be near the top of her priority list, right? So when that isn't the case, a woman will push sex down the priority list so that she can maximize her return on investment. That's the blue pill, but it's kind of the pink pill. That's how women operate to get the most out of a situation. So one thing I realized when it comes to this biology first approach is that the goal is not to take advantage of women. The goal is not to manipulate women. The reason I give women game is because a lot of times women don't understand this stuff just as much as men don't understand, right? Women don't understand just as much as men don't understand. And also, as a man, you take that masculine role, you take that dominant role, And you can be responsible for making sure that if you're sexually compatible with that woman, if you have chemistry, and if she's submissive with you and she's attractive to you, then you gradually, in a pace that suits the situation, you assess the situation, and then you gradually start to integrate more non-sexual things into it as the woman can handle it. And if she can't handle it, then that's where you stop, and that's kind of where the situation ends, right? Or it just stays right there for as long as you two want to be there. But it's just a matter of understanding that process. It's a process. When we're looking at these type of scenarios, the goal is to leave a woman better than you found her. So instead of the mindset being you're just going to take a woman on some dates to get her comfortable enough to have sex with you, you just make your sexual desires clear up front. You may trigger that woman's sexual shadow so that she desires to sleep with you, right? And then you show and prove. You come through with the substance of that sex appeal, which is your skills, your energy, your masculine energy. And when you have a combination of that thorough presentation, and what you say is facts, and you follow through on your actions and your words, and when you do that type of thing, and then your dick is good and you got good dick and guidance, that's what I always say. That's how you get submission from women, is good dick and guidance. And when you come through with the good dick and guidance and you're consistent with your masculine energy, then what it'll cause a woman to become submissive with you. And when that woman is in that state of submissiveness with you, which is really digmatizing, when that woman is in that state, you can assess her mindset. You can assess her mind state and then look at ways to improve the situation, right? So let's say you may not immediately be able to want to date that woman seriously. That's going to happen sometimes, most of the time. If that woman's submissive with you and she wants you, and it's on that level, then whichever way she may be a little bit short on the things that you would want out of the situation in a kind of a general basis, you can help mold that woman. You can help grow that woman, right? And I've seen women try to do this with men. I call that the Topanga trap, right? So in these situations, let's say, a woman doesn't understand certain things, right? She may be kind of vain. She may be kind of materialistic. You know, Once you give a woman that type of feeling, it kind of takes away her ability to be too materialistic with you, because you're giving her the substance of the things that she desires. So when you're in this type of position with a woman, you can start showing her actual substance, right? You can start teaching her things that will incorporate things that will help her attract quality men, right? Instead of the same bullshit dudes she's used to attracting, right? Because the truth is this: when you use this biology first approach, many times it's going to be somewhat reminiscent of just being toxic, right? And it's going to be somewhat reminiscent of just being a guy who's all about sex. It reminds me of that song "Oh" by Marion, which is pretty much a pretty big motivation, or a pretty big inspiration when it comes to the blurred pill. He was upfront with the woman, but he was respectful about it. He was upfront with the woman. He didn't make any guarantee of a relationship after the fact, but he let her know that whatever he was doing was something that was going to benefit her, right? So it wasn't something. It created a situation where sex was an intrinsic reward, an intrinsic motivation, and something that was mutually beneficial in and of itself, right? Let's say a woman may be a little bit out of shape. See, the truth is this: as a man, you can date a woman and you can marry a woman, and she can get out of shape later. So why not take that time of dealing with a woman to learn how to help a woman to get into shape better, right? Why not learn how to encourage a woman to improve her appearance? Why not encourage a woman to improve her mindset or her financial situation, or encourage a woman to pursue her goals? I've had women that I dealt with who had different things that they were into artistically, and I'm an artist myself. And through the process of dealing with them, I may have motivated them to do different things. There's this one woman I was dealing with, a very, very great woman. I think she was just a great person. You know what I mean? And in that process of dealing with her, I reinvigorated her inspiration to write her poetry. And she wrote a poem about how she felt about me sexually in one of our encounters. And when she wrote that poem got people into relationships. When we had conversations about the mindset that she previously took, because this was a girl who was a former good girl, right? I still think she's a good woman now, but she used to be one of those good girls, that nice girl, but she didn't understand that by going that blue pill route, that she was cutting off her own ability to experience a certain level of sexual pleasure. And it hurt her ability to have intrinsic desire, which hurt her relationships. So when we had that conversation, she finally was able to see. Now, the thing is this: If a woman isn't submissive to your masculine energy and to your sexual energy, when you have this type of conversation with her, she's not going to be able to hear you. She's not going to be able to understand. You could say it to a woman as clearly as I'm saying it right now, but if she doesn't feel that way about you, she's going to be unable to receive that information. So really what it is it's kind of like hitting a reset button on a woman. It's kind of like changing a woman's imprint in a way. And if you're a thorough man and you come through as a thorough man and you rock that woman's world when it comes to the sex and your guidance, your masculinity, then what will happen is you will begin to change a woman's imprint. You'll begin to change a woman's preferences when it comes to men. That's why it's important to be thorough yourself. And when that woman's preferences and men begin to change, I've been in situations where there's this woman I was dealing with, and after me, every dude she tried to deal with would be a guy who had certain traits that reminded her of me. And I noticed this, and she told it to me herself before. It's just one of those situations where, when you're thorough, that's something that's gonna happen sometimes. Now, if you're a dude who is a good dude, and a woman's used to dealing with dudes who ain't shit, and then you come into her life and you rock her world, you show her a whole new world, and then her preferences change to deal with a man who thinks or has certain traits that are reminiscent of you, then what'll happen is now you've just improved the quality of her life, because now she is going to be attracted to men who have less risky lifestyles, at least when it comes to how they go about making money. Like, let's say a woman is used to dealing with drug dealers all the time, and you're a nerd. This is the blurred pill. I'm a blurred, so I like art, I like music, I like acting. I like different things, and also like talking about black culture and spirituality and different aspects of it. And I'm not saying a hood dude can't do that. I'm not saying a hood dude. I'm talking about somebody who just really takes a life of crime as their primary source of income. So when a woman's used to that, and you come through and you change her imprint, now she's like, oh, I don't really want to deal with no guy who doesn't like anime, or I don't really want to deal with a guy who doesn't have some type of intellectual acumen. You know what I mean? It's a situation like that. You want to leave a woman better than you found her. You want to start changing a woman's preferences. Reshaping her imprint, reshaping her frame of mind. And then after you do that, after you're done dealing with that woman, she's also acquired some skills. So let's say you teach her certain things that will allow her to attract a man who has qualities that may be uh more consistent with a man who would do right by her, right? Let's say you a woman wants a certain type of man, so you come in with the sexuality, and then you attach that sexuality to different aspects of life that will attract a certain type of man, and then you teach her how to attract that type of man. There's women I've dealt with who I gave them game on how to deal with men when it comes to social media, because I'm an online dating coach, right? Not just I give people coaching on seduction. I also give people coaching when it comes to just general dating. But really, my bread and butter, my forte is online dating. Believe it or not, most of my experiences come from online dating. I'm 25 years old. I came up in the social media era. I wasn't very socialized as a child, so I had to learn things on my own. And instead of being taught the game by people who were older than me, and learning how to initiate situations with women, I had to teach myself the game, and I learned to navigate online dating and social media and Facebook and other platforms, so that I would be able to gain, sexual partners and sexual access. And I've been in relationships like that. I've helped other people get in relationships like that. And I've also had very mutually beneficial sexual relationships like that, many of them. So there's just certain things that come with it. And when you learn how to attract certain traits in somebody, and make yourself attractive for the outcome that you desire, then you'll often get the outcome that you desire. But you also have to learn to intrinsically desire the things that the other party wants from you to feel reciprocated, if you want to have a happy relationship, right? Like a man, you can make yourself attractive for sex, but since you only made yourself attractive for sex, then all you're going to get is sex out of it. But if you learn how to intrinsically desire spending non sexual time with a woman, just show some discipline, and then as you see that sexual chemistry come to a head, you get to the point where you start incorporating more of those non-sexual things, instead of feeling like you have to trade that non-sexual attention, that non-sexual access to a woman, in order to get to a place where she's comfortable enough to have sex with you. Because this is what leads to a lot of relationships where people get complacent, where people will put effort in at the beginning and then they're going to pull back after they get what they want. It's because when they get what they want, they're finally at a place where they feel like they can rest. And then when a person feels like they can finally rest after putting in so much effort, that makes the person who was withholding what it is that they desired feel as if, oh, if I just every time I try to actually give you what you want, now you're pulling back on me, right? So that these are the things that we need to avoid when it comes to value based dating, when it comes to transactional type of dating situations. And I'm not saying transact. People look at transactional negatively. It's not always bad. There are instances where it can be good, but that's just not my primary modem of way of thinking and way of looking at relationships. So when I'm talking about leaving a woman better than you found her, I'm talking about being in a situation where after a woman is done dealing with you, she is going to have a higher chance of finding a high quality man. Because my mindset is this, I want the best for you even if it isn't me, right? And I want the best for me even if it isn't you. So while we're dealing with each other, we might as well grow and become the best of ourselves. And I don't think a man should take his directives from a woman, but I do think that a woman can take her directives from a man. Some people would disagree with this, but I think, a really smart woman is a woman who knows how to pick the man she's going to be stupid for. Honestly, a really smart woman is a woman who knows how to identify strong masculine traits in a man, knows how to identify a man who has a certain level of integrity and character, and who knows how to let herself go with that man. Because oftentimes it's a situation where a woman will find a man who has good character, but he doesn't make that pussy tingle like that. He doesn't make it thump. He doesn't make her wet like that. So she will put that man in a submissive position with her where he needs to invest all of this time, and she just enjoys it and soaks it up, all that energy, all that affection, all that love, all that attention. But the man who's able to trigger her sexual desire is a man who doesn't display traits that make him, relationship worthy, right? Just like when I talk about the whole daddy thing, like the daddy thing is, I said this in on a post one time, and I said, somebody said something about a man being okay with a woman calling him daddy during sex means he's pedophilic, and I'm like, no, that's not true at all. What daddy means is that after I fuck you into your feelings, I'm the one who's responsible for your emotional state to a certain extent. Like the video I made talking about daddy and quickies and all those different things, it's like you just have to understand that there's certain power that comes with having sexual power. When you have penis power, there's certain things that come with it, and you need to use it responsibly. I was dealing with a woman one time, and I wrote a song. Well, I wrote a verse about the situation I was in with this woman, and she ended up writing some poems about me after the fact, and she was posting them, and she was sending them to me, and she was sending me these long posts and what these long poems, and I was reading them, but I knew that at the time she wasn't fully able to grasp her mind around being in such a sexually fulfilling situation without that immediately turn into a relationship. So she would try to push for that relationship, but I would just let her know to slow her roll, but that I was enjoying the time I was spending with her, and don't do anything that you don't want to do. Nothing comes out of obligation. This is all intrinsic desire. And after I got that through to her, I was finally able to tell her that I wrote a song about her, right? But at the same time, even though I wrote about her first, I couldn't let her know that ahead of time because she would have gotten way too emotionally invested way too soon, and it would have caused the situation to burn out. So, I talked to my friends first, and when I talked to my friends just to make sure I was right about the situation, they said, yeah, yeah, don't do it yet. And when I told her about it, when I finally let her hear it, she was like, you know what, you're right. You're right for not letting me see that soon. See, what goes on a lot of the times is a man is so unused to receiving a certain level of sexual submissiveness and validation from a woman that when he finally receives it, he won't be able to control the fact that he's been holding back his non-sexual access for so long from different women, that when he finally gets what he wants, he starts pouring, he starts doing way too much. And when he starts doing way too much, it causes the situation to burn out because a woman can feel that a woman doesn't trust it either. A woman doesn't trust that either. It's a matter of you have to understand the timing of those situations. You have to understand the timing. Another part of leaving a woman better than you found her is, let's say she doesn't have knowledge in a certain area that you do. Well, you can give a woman knowledge in that certain area, whatever it is that you know that she doesn't know. Like I always say, if you don't have something to teach a woman, you have nothing to offer her. You have nothing to offer her. You have to leave women better than you found them. And when you leave women better than you found them, when you're in hookup culture, when you're in casual sex, then you begin to shift the mindset and the thought process about casual sex from that being a negative thing to that being a positive thing, to those being mutually fulfilling situations. Because oftentimes, and I hear people say this, like, don't mix sex and emotions, or, don't shit where you eat. I think a lot of that comes from people having a mindset where they see sex as inherently wrong. It's sexually repressed. And when they have that type of mindset, at times what happens is they will be in a situation where, and I'll say this right here too. And I've been in friends with benefit situations before I learned to stay in my masculine frame more, and before I worked on my sex game more, where I was supposed to be friends with benefits with the women, but then it would end up being fuck buddy situations without me knowing it, because I would be overly invested emotionally because I just wasn't used to getting that type of validation from a woman. And when you would be in those type of situations, a woman will not want to tell you that she wants to step back from being as close of friends because, well, she doesn't want to lose that validation that she's getting. But at the same time, she's losing respect for you in the process. And you know, when you're having sex with a woman, that is still going to be a situation that's based on your masculine dominant, masculine feminine dynamic and your sexual polarity. So when you're throwing off the sexual polarity because you're over communicating as a friend with that boyfriend energy, what happens is you're going to cause the woman to become inconsistent with you, especially if your sex is good, because that can be toxic. It's toxic. It's getting a woman overly emotional at the wrong time. So, like, let's say you're in that situation. A woman is usually going to do one or two things. If the sex is really good, then she's probably going to try to cut you off as a friend to a certain extent. She's going to pull back on you and then just pop back on you when she wants some dick again. And if the sex is okay, she may still be able to be pretty decent friends with you. But if it's a situation where the sex is good and she really wants to be friends with you really bad, then she's going to try to cut off the sex. And this will cause guys to, when this happens with some men, they'll leave the biology first approach. They'll leave being upfront about sexuality and go back into the blue pill mentality of dating. That almost happened to me. But at the same time, what you have to understand is that there's a process to this. There's a certain way of going about doing this that doesn't cause you to betray yourself or to put the woman in a compromising position. You know what I mean? There's certain ways to go about it. One thing that I've learned oftentimes is, you know, sometimes you don't need to go all out the first time you have sex with a woman. You know what I mean? A lot of times a woman won't trust you. That's the times where, and I've been in this situation myself. I've had my toxic times. I've definitely had my toxic times where women will tell you, why are you fucking me like this? And that would be music to my ears. It would be music to my ears. Oh, why you fucking me like this? You know better than to be fucking me like this. You know, I used to love that, or women be tapping out and stuff, but it's really better to get a woman to tap in than to get a woman to tap out. That's just something that strokes your ego. Like if you feel inadequate, then sometimes you only feel adequate by overpowering somebody. But you really want a woman to feel comfortable with the fact that you know how to lead, with the fact that you know how to work a situation through in a way that doesn't put her in a compromising situation, in an overly vulnerable situation. But when you get to that point, you fuck that woman clean into her feelings. You do that, and I've done that. It's something that's it's fun. I very much enjoy it. There's a process to it. So after you go through this process, you just learn what you're doing, you figure out what you're doing, and then you just do that, right? And you try to leave that woman better than you found her. And this is the aspect of it. If there's just minor things that are in the way of that situation working out better, then what you later do is that if you can elevate those things that aren't where you need them to be, then after you're done dealing with that woman, or you run the course of that friends with benefits situation, you may be able to turn that and transition that into a relationship. You know what I mean? Let's say, well, there's different things. It could be different things on different sides. But you also give that woman an opportunity to see how she is going to invest in your life non-sexually, how you're going to invest in her life non-sexually. Maybe you could start some type of endeavor, some type of project, but you want to leave her better than you found her. You don't want to leave a woman damaged to where she can't find a new man, because then you're just going to put a stain on the biology first approach, and you're going to put a stain on casual sex when it's something that isn't bad at all. This really is one of the best times to date. So this is just Brody's take on leaving women better than you found them. So this is it.